visionary, generous, forthright, even eccentric. These are just a few of the words used to describe J.L. Weigand, Jr. Though only a few people may have known him well, his legacy, the J.L. Weigand, Jr. Notre Dame Legal Education Trust, will dramatically impact the lives of many aspiring attorneys for many years to come. The establishment of this scholarship trust came as no surprise to those who knew the real character, qualities, and ideals of the man himself.
J.L. Weigand was a very special man. You'd be proud to know him because he had integrity, he had ethics, he had honesty.
I think he was a class act because of the way he approached people, even opponents in circumstances where he might have had an opportunity to take advantage of someone. I never saw that side of him.
He was iconoclastic, he was modest, and he cared.
He was a gentleman, old school gentleman.
Pretty easy to respect those qualities.
J.L. Weigand, Jr. was born on July 31st, 1932 in Wichita, Kansas. Even at an early age, those around him recognized there was something exceptional about this young man.
He went to Notre Dame, graduated Notre Dame, went to Georgetown Law School.
And I think the reason he went to Georgetown is because our dad went to Georgetown. And then he graduated and came home and went to work at the law firm that my dad was in.
J.L.'s 4 years spent at Notre Dame led to a lifelong love affair with the school. For him, no other institution could stir as much passion and pride as Notre Dame.
He was Notre Dame through and through. If there was a case when Notre Dame was playing football, the case took second fiddle.
First was the practice of law. On top of that was family. On top of that was religion, and on top of that was Arab Parsegian.
He watched and listened to Notre Dame football. That's what he did for fun.
There is no doubt that despite his humbleness, J.L. Weigand was a man who stood out. His personality was such that people who met him were left with indelible impressions.
You could talk to J.L. and just about any subject, and he was very well read, had a good analytical mind, and enjoyed seeing how your mind worked.
Very inquisitive. He was like he was on the stand when he was just talking to people.
One of the things he did like to do was he liked to make you think, and a lot of times in these discussions it wouldn't matter whether he was for a particular issue or not. He would take the opposite side just to press you into being able to express your opinion.
Didn't like losing.
At anything?
At anything.
Obviously, being an attorney, he did not like to lose any debate, whether it was with the family or whoever.
Our routine, most of the time we practiced law together, which was an extended period of time, would be J.L. would get in maybe at 10 in the morning, and he left at about 11 o'clock at night.
If I needed to reach J.L. at 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, I knew where to call, and that was, you called his office. He put in a lot of hours. He was definitely a hard worker.
He liked peanuts and scotch, and he always kept this supplied to coincide with his late hours.
At 8 o'clock, you would start, you'd lose concentration, and J.L. would get out a large jar of Planters peanuts and a larger bottle of J&B scotch, and you just talk. And that's how you ended it. Then next day you'd do it again.
He had a pretty high standard for himself and set the bar pretty high, not only for himself but for other people as well.
He and I shared a secretary, and it's sort of like sharing a small yard with a pit bull.
His own living was always modest, and again, he wasn't really concerned about what other people thought. He did what he did in the way he thought it best to do it.
He was very frugal, and that's obvious by the amount of money that he left for the trust. He didn't do extravagant things.
JL wouldn't pay $1 to see a carnival. He watched the pennies very, very closely.
Most people that would have the kind of money that JL had would have had an island in Tahiti. That wasn't his value system.
That's the way he lived. A great part of his life was making sure that he could accumulate enough funds to establish the law scholarship.
As a result of his commitment, sacrifices, and generosity, the J.L. Weigand Jr. Notre Dame Legal Education Trust was established in 2003.
He believed very strongly in the law, and I think he felt like this was probably the best long-term thing to do with the money that he'd accumulated.
The foundation is a reflection of how JL felt about his profession. The object of the foundation is to raise the bar.
He wanted to help students that were gifted, and what a way to do it.
And he wanted to make sure that the brightest kids stayed in Kansas and practiced law. JL had hoped that by the kids getting the scholarships that they wouldn't incur such huge student loans, and that it might be possible for them to stay in the state of Kansas rather than having to chase larger salaries in the big cities simply to pay off student loans. And would also be good for the state of Kansas as well as good for the kids, and I think it was his way of giving back.
That was what he felt was important, is to capture this talent and bring it back to his native land.
And I wish you could see us now. I wish you could see all of these people who have been impacted by what he left. I wish we could go to his office at the end of the day, but I think he'd need a lot more J&B Scotch and peanuts than he ever expected.
The post-graduation requirement is that you have to go to JL's grave and have a Scotch and some peanuts with him, so I'm looking forward to that.